Can we please welcome Anton to the presentation?
Hello, SydJS. My name is Anton, and just in the morning I had a conversation with my manager that I'm not always giving any advice. I'm not always explaining what I'm going to talk before I'm starting to talk. I'm always trying to get some people to understand what I'm talking about through their own experience one day later. And people complain that that day later came, not tomorrow. But in any case, thank you for being here. And actually, that's a good question, what we are doing here. And frankly speaking, it should be different reasons for attendees and for speakers. For attendees can be know about something, I really like the pizza. For speakers, it's very valuable to talk about something, as long as you can better understand what we're talking about. And we also want to be maybe better prepared for future. And if we're talking about the future, let's step back, when we were kids and we were dreaming about the future. One day I'll be a doctor. One day I'll be a cosmonaut. One day I'll be launching rockets in the sky, or at least barely understand what actually it means. And you are here one day I will learn JavaScript. One day I will understand meaning of Redux. One day I will work in a company with 5 million lines of code and a few hundreds amazing developers around. And believe me, first thing, yes, you will work in that company. And second, the day you will join that company, you will die. Believe me, I tried and I died. Multiple times I was trying and dying, and maybe you know the answer to that problem. So you will die, you will suffer, until eventually through that loop of endless repeating and repeating, you'll get good at it. And by this man, you can better understand that maybe I'm going to talk about some games. And games. Some people, they're thinking that games is a waste of time, and from some point, yes, but we as human beings, we're using games to prepare ourselves for the future. We can play some Lego stuff to become a builder. This is how we learn. And learning can be easier, can be not easier. The child games are pretty simple. But if you want to get real stuff, you should remember, no pain, no gain. And this is what we quite often not getting learning JavaScript. You want to build something, yes, there is a create tab, done. You want to build something, there is a now library, it hasn't existed yesterday, today it is, done. And quite often it's easy to create a task, it's easy to do it, and you cannot feel these details as long as you don't spend enough time. To understand all the beauty, all the nuances, you should have a few years of experience. And I hope I pronounced it right. It's a few years of a singular experience. The same and the same and the same stuff again until you basically understand what it means. This was heavily researched, and there is some cycles that you're creating a team, the team is growing, the team is maturing, and then it has to be disbanded and create a new one. In terms of projects, it's the same. You're creating it so simple, then it's becoming less chaotic, then it's just complex, then it's complicated. You're okay, I just need to do that thing. It's simple again, and the loop repeats. This guy spent just half year repeating that day again and again until he killed these bastard aliens. So easy, but he had to die every day. And this guy was not dying, no that much pain, so he spent just 33 years, one day repeating and repeating, but frankly speaking, he learned a lot of stuff, how to play piano, how to make ice sculptures, and if you haven't seen Groundhog Day, do it. There's many other films when someone's getting into the loop to understand what else is happening in that single day. We are, as developers, in the same loop. doing the same stuff with a few variations every day. And I like it. I like it today. I really enjoyed it last year. But frankly speaking, I'm doing that more than a few years. And some people are spending decades trying to understand how actually to build things. They are spending decades to build that expertise to become a great developers. That's working, but I really hope that you won't fast-track things a little bit. And 20 years like cool, but that's whole life. And this is why you should play Factorio. So when I was preparing these slides, I was like loading my old tech games, and first I noticed that I spend roughly 3,000 hours in each game. I'm starting it every year, installing new version, new mods, and doing that for the last 6 years. But I never played more than like 6, 7, 8, 100 hours in one play. That doesn't seem like much, like a whole vacation, or like a quarter. But it's important to repeat and repeat and repeat. And Factorio is very similar to what we're doing in our life. You start with nothing. Yep?
Sorry, is it kind of a space game Tetris?
No, no. It's a game when you're crashing on a planet, you're that small cosmonaut next to the spaceship. So you were a cool guy on a cool spaceship, but you crashed. And you don't have any other choice than try to get out of that planet. And in order to get out of a planet, you have to build a rocket. Have you ever tried to build a rocket? So technically speaking, we all know how to do that. It's like that thingy, rocket fuel, things, and like a lot of smoke. Sounds like a doable. So there is like different estimations how much you need to play Factorio to win it. And minimally, you need to spend 40 hours to actually build a rocket. Not that big. So, but you crashed. You don't have anything. It's a greenfield project. There is no NPM, but you basically remember like how things can be made, and you can start trying to rebuild them. So magically, there is some furnace and mining drill in your backpack. So you are finding some iron ore, putting a mining drill, connecting directly to the stone furnace, and a second later, you got some iron. You got more iron. Once you get some iron, you don't need to any more like manage all the things manually. You don't need to dig coal manually to get your iron. You can connect things automated. So a little more coal, a little more copper, you're starting smelting things. Once you get iron, once you get copper, you can get more things. You're starting producing some copper plates, you got some electricity. Easy, easy, easy. Now you're ready to build machines, As long as this game is not about how to get out of planet, it's not Minecraft. The game is about automation. This is like a 120 hours and 4 minutes, and this is how someone base organically grows. It's starting growing, and the more things you build, the more things you can build. The more things you can build, the more things you're building. You're unlocking new technologies, you can do things differently, and this is quite similar to normal projects. When you're doing something and then change of requirement. Doing something, change of requirement. And eventually unlocking technologies, letting you saying, you know, that old base of mine is actually crap, let's delete it, and you're starting everything again. So you're doing, it's going more and more and more and more and more, and eventually you can launch the rocket. Hooray, game ended. So not sure how much time this guy, yes, 120 hours, but he made a real cool base. Done. Game finished, nothing else. I mean, you won, done. But okay, you launched one rocket. What about 10 rockets. Why not? You can do that. And now you have to handle scaling issues. You build a mega base, that mega base barely launched one rocket. If you want more rockets, you need more resources to be delivered on some stuff. And this is where you have logistic problems. This one is automated bells. They're used to deliver stuff. And as you can see, there is some imbalance. They are not delivering stuff in an efficient way. And people thinking, okay, how to make it efficient? So we have 4 belts and balancing them one way, another way, third way, and it's not working. They are still unbalanced. They're asking for help, and the help comes with purely mathematical formulas. I have no idea how it's working, but if there is some hardcore engineers, like a real hardcore, not software, but real engineers, it ends like that. So this thingy, no idea why, it can properly balance belts. So if you really want to launch 10 rockets, you need to be creative. You have to craft, you have to micromanage everything, and you can do that easily. And there is like multiple patterns you can find in all over the place, or just Google images like this one. Then you have these belts like going in a very strange things, as long as this is how you have to build things if you want to go vertical scaling. More and more and more. But like Boris just devs. Okay, so 10 rockets. Can I make more? And to make more, like what actually means more? So this guy launches 100 rockets a minute. So from 1 rocket to 10 rockets to 1,000 rockets. Basically, you have to do something differently. The question is like, okay, what you have to do differently? And like that's the difference between software craftsmanship, when you're like tinkering everything, you're perfecting small things, and all the things are looking pretty good, but you don't have many of them as long as they're very expensive. Versus engineering, when you are trying to make things efficient. And to explain what means craftsmanship and engineering, this one is craftsmanship. It's a beautiful but very expensive to build building. And this is engineering. It's like a efficient. And if you're living inside, you maybe don't care. Like if you have money, if you don't have that much money, probably this building is way to go. But there is like a balance, like a craftsmanship, engineering. Technically speaking, this is still craftsmanship, as long as this is how all the wires are made in Thailand. This is how things are expected to be. And there is still some love. It can look ugly, but it's not as ugly. People are still dedicating their efforts. They're still doing what they want with love. These guys, no. This is not engineering, not craftsmanship. And this is front end. So it's actually working. Like no worries. Maybe a little more maintenance cost, but it's working. And this is engineering. It actually looks boring, totally boring. I mean, there is no fun in that. But it's easier to handle that. And in Factorio, it handles in the same way. Let me speed up this video a little bit. So someone had a big base in the beginning, and then magically some strange city blocks appearing around, totally round, totally square, totally boring, everything just concrete, and then in every small square, something starting happening. And you don't have to think about these big belts. You don't have to think about how things are connected to each other, as long as there is a logistic network in between, in this case trains, and that's all. You have less things to talk about, and you can scale. It's a horizontal scaling, when you can build things, you can build more things, eventually you're just removing the old base, totally legacy code gone, replacing it by the same boring structure, and you're scaling, 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 scaling endlessly. And this is how you can get that 1,000 rockets a minute. This is how you can get 10,000 rockets a minute, as long as like I just copy your base and paste next to it, working. And if that engineering looks boring, and actually looks boring, there is something in the middle, engineering plus craftsmanship. It's the same base, but it's like created for perfection. So these all small things, and these ones, my mouse is not working. Oops, sorry. Like these ones are small trains in the middle. So it's just a waste of space, total waste of space, waste of resources. But it looks beautiful for no reason, because you can do that. And the best analogy I can imagine is a Protoss from StarCraft. They are cool, very expensive units, and like not that cool units, but yes, they are created for perfection. And in Japanese culture, there is something about that. The first concept, called kodawari, hope I pronounce it right, it's about dedicating yourself to the exceptional details. When you're going to some ramen place, and that ramen place is awesome, it's because they're kodawari. Someone is dedicating their whole self to make ramen good. And the second one is shuhari or shuhari. It's more about martial art. Then it 3 steps. First is when you're learning fundamentals, you have to obey rules. You have to understand what it is. Then you have that middle, when you're detaching yourself from some rules, as long as you're already a master, and you can understand that maybe ESLint, not that required. I got the point. Okay. And the last one, mastering your work, then you basically truly understand what you want to do, and you can do that. But like, haven't seen a JavaScript expert in that level, as long as JavaScript is, yeah, a little illusion of itself. We'll see. So that was easier, but we can make it even more harder. Factorio supports different modes, and my favorite one is space exploration. The name is like a sound, you're going to space. Yesterday, you had one planet, you have to handle it in an efficient way. Now there is a multiple planets. And the difference between main planet and the planetoids, that planetoids are small. And all you need is some unique resource found on that planet. Get in, mine it, get out. So you can build bases, but it could be mega base, it could be city block, nobody cares. You get resource, you blow up your base, you can blow up the whole moon, it's temporal. And that acceptance that, yeah, you can stop worrying about making things future-proof. There is no future for that stuff. There is your main base, it's good. There is your side projects to have fun, to experiment, but nothing else. And yeah, you're just going, you're doing whatever you want, and you have to like let yourself say, I don't care. Same thing happened at work. There is a main work, like a business critical things, and there is like a experiment spikes. When you just playing with the stuff, enjoy the process, that's main. And this one creates a cycle when like one cycle feeds another cycle, and eventually getting feedback, and your next cycle became better. This is how you grow, by playing and playing and playing everything again and again and again. You can go from team to team, from project to project, or you can just restart Factorio a few times and get the same experience shorter. Yeah, easy. So just restart and get the same experience, do things differently. I like Factorio that it has a lot of constraints. Sometimes there is a bots helping you building stuff, delivering stuff. Say no bots, no NPM, no third-party dependencies, like a hard mode. No belts. Belts, yeah, easily, but what about just creating constraints to help yourself do something? For example, I'm going to create a library less than 1 kilobyte. You can do that, maybe a few months of trying, you will. It's just a game to get you a better understanding of your capabilities. It's also giving you understanding of shared resources. There is a train and roads, trains sometimes smash each other, you have to fix it. We're creating some conjunction, you have to fix it. You will fix a lot of things as long as you will have to fix all your mistakes. It will be a lot of mistakes. CPU. Factorio can build big bases. Your CPU is like a small thingy. Eventually you will run into a problem that it's slow and it calls like updates per second. Starting good, ending bad. And there is some things like do not do long pipes. Do not use bots. Kill all the bugs. There is a bugs in the game. To just make the game run faster. You have to understand how to code to make the code efficient. And the one I really don't like is network. Usually I'm playing with my partner and she is a host. On her computer, everything is fine. On my computer, I cannot move as long as server doing things faster than network can pass it. Sometimes when you're building a real and very good bases, we have to stop as long as it's no longer multiplayer, it's a single player game. You have to keep in mind that there is some people are on the same server. Very good learning. And learning is, you can ask Reddit about Factorio, software engineering, and many people for years, they just, yes, I am a software engineer, full day at work, coming home, playing Factorio. Yes, I am incident manager. I am managing incidents at work. We're going back to Factorio. There is some problems that I have to solve. There is even idea that Factorio can be better at coding interviews, as long as you know that inverting binary tree on a whiteboard is not what we do, but Factorio is working the same way as we work at home, at work, solving the same problems like at work. How to make things, how to connect things, how to talk to people, even if you're not people, and so on. And also, Factorio has a Friday Facts. Every Friday, in the past, now it's rarely, we're telling some stuff, how we're building the game, how we port the game on Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo Switch is like not that powerful as your machine, and technical limitation, how we passed it. How we ported in M1s. M1s has a few things which Intel doesn't, like a better memory. What actually does that mean for the game performance? So low-level things which can give some advices, not from a JavaScript world, but from the world you understand. As long as you play inside the game, you can relate to that. So the question, are you an engineer or you're a crafter? That's all?